inspiring interviews with today's top landlords. This is the Rental Income Podcast. And now, Dan Lane.
I've got a real interesting guest joining us on the podcast today, and what I just love about her is how simple she makes investing in rental property seem, and it really is simple what she's doing. Basically, she's saving money, and when she gets enough money set aside, she's using that as a down payment to buy a rental property, and then that rental property generates more money, and she saves even more money, and then when she has another down payment, she buys another property. It's so simple, but saving money can be a challenge, so I want to talk to her today about exactly how she's doing that. And I also want to talk to her about setting money aside for repairs, because it's one thing to buy a rental property, but you got to have money set aside for when an HVAC goes or you need to replace a roof. So I want to talk to her today to get into the numbers of exactly how much money she's setting aside. So let's take a real quick break. We'll get a word in from our sponsors. We'll come right back and we'll meet Joe Gerrior from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Are you looking for actionable steps to create wealth and passive income? As a top-ranked business and investing podcast with over 800 five-star reviews, the Passive Real Estate Investing Show is packed with strategies and insight for putting money in your pocket. Marco Santarelli from Narada Real Estate Investments brings his expertise and knowledge on both passive and turnkey real estate investing, and he provides listeners with helpful tools and tips to create the wealth you've always wanted. Head over to iTunes or Google Play today and subscribe to Passive Real Estate Investing Podcast, or visit PassiveRealEstateInvesting.com. That's PassiveRealEstateInvesting.com. The first step in buying a rental property is to get pre-qualified, and I would suggest you work with a lender that specializes in working with investors, because the last thing you want to have happen is to get to closing and find out the money's not there and you can't close. The lender that I recommend is Chaley Ridge from Ridge Lending Group. She's a nationwide lender, and she'll pre-qualify you for free if you mention Rental Income Podcast. Find out more today. Contact Chaley at ridgelendinggroup.com. That's RIDGE lendinggroup.com. NMLS 42056. Hey, Joe, welcome to the podcast. So why don't we start with you just giving us a real quick bio on who you are and how you got started in real estate?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. So I am originally from Wisconsin, right in the middle. And after college, I joined the military and met my husband. And then we've been traveling around in the military until 3 years ago. He finally retired. But as we would move in the military, we would always look for like a foreclosure to fix up, or I was kind of obsessed watching HGTV back then. And I was like, oh, we could do this. And so we do kind of a live and flip situation. And then our first we now have 4 buy and hold properties. And so the first one that we kept was we bought in 2013 in Wisconsin. We thought he was going to get out of the military then. And we bought another property to live in personally and finish the basement. So that became our second rental. And then we bought 2 other houses, just traditional 20% down investment properties.
And that's what I want to talk to you about today, because I feel like the way that you've built your portfolio is so simple that you save up 20% and you get a mortgage and you buy a house, right? Is that just basically what you've done?
With 2 of them, yeah. I think even simpler was when you live in it first. If I could go back in time, or I'm trying to coach my brother, just buy a house every year. And especially if there's something you can do to force some equity, if it's finish a basement, add a bedroom, get that super low down payment. And if you have VA loan or USDA programs, or you could basically buy a house with nothing down.
Yeah.
And then move out after, you've met kind of the mortgage requirements to live in it for a full year, and build your portfolio that way. I think that's super smart. The way that we've been able to save up some money for now more traditional investing is we've always just kind of lived off my husband's salary, with him moving every 2 to 3 years in the military. It wasn't ideal for me to start a big career. So now that I'm actually a real estate agent and making a lot more income, we still just live off of his salaries, which allows us to save up money to buy more properties.
Is that hard to do? Because as you start making more money, you want nicer things. Maybe you want to buy, I don't know, a new car or go on vacations. Is it hard to, or was it hard to make that decision that we're just going to live on your husband's money and not spend anything that you're making?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. We kind of fell into living that way, and then once you kind of got used to it, now that we just see we see so much benefit from living this way and really building up our real estate portfolio and investing now, so that, my husband is still working. But I think within 5 years, we could be completely financially independent where he could stop working. So that's more of an important goal to us than, I still love to go on vacation. Don't get me wrong, but that's going to be the priority over buying lavish things.
Now, one thing that I always struggle with is when I save up some money, I always struggle with, should I use this as a down payment to buy another rental, or should I put some money aside because I know at some point an HVAC is going to go or I'm going to have to buy a new roof? Is that a struggle for you to kind of figure out what to do with any money you might save?
Yeah, I was struggling even recently. I was reading lots of articles and blogs about, how much should I really have for an emergency fund? Because you read different things and different strategies about, well, you should have 6 months worth of expenses for even each rental. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, gosh, that sounds like a lot of money when I want to be investing with that money too. So it's a hard balance, I think, to figure out what you're comfortable with. I've kind of landed right now on having $25,000 in an emergency savings account that just helps me sleep better at night. I don't know if that's too much, if that's too little, but with both my husband and I still working, that number feels right for us right now, just having 4 properties. And they all are cash flowing pretty significantly. Each house is between $500 and $700 cash flowing a month. So even if the economy crazy turns in my area and I have to drop my rents just to fill the vacancy, I think I'm going to be okay.
Yeah,
so
I think that's really good because, a lot of people, I think, make a mistake when they buy a rental. It's maybe only cash flowing $100. And, if the economy does turn and you have to lower rents, that doesn't really give you much wiggle room there. So was that intentional when you're buying a property?
Yes.
You're looking like that's what you want, like $500 to $700 above the mortgage amount.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So all my properties I bought around the $200,000 mark, except for one that's also I Airbnb in the summer in Sandpoint, which is more of a vacation rental touristy area. But having lived in it myself and forcing equity in it, the foreclosure in Wisconsin, and then the one we finished the basement, we turned a 3-bedroom, 2-bath into a 5-bedroom, 3-bath. So that one, the mortgage is $1,125, and we're getting $1,800 a month for rent. So there's a lot of wiggle room there.
Yeah.
And they're also really nice family homes and great school districts. So a lot of your listeners probably heard Tim Shiner's been on your podcast. And I love his philosophy. I don't speculate on appreciation, but I just think that's a nice strategy. And my tenants are amazing. They're nurses and teachers. I don't have any headaches, knock on wood. Of course it could happen, but I just like that way of investing better than, picking up $50,000 houses in the Midwest right now.
Right.
I'd rather.
And what's great about the properties that you're buying is that these are nice houses that are also cash flowing. A lot of times people are making the decision, well, am I going to buy for, where Tim, he definitely buys for appreciation. He's not really looking at the cash flow. But you're getting both. You're getting cash flow and appreciation.
Yeah, that's the plan. I want it all.
Yeah. Now, tell me about one of your properties. You were telling me before the show that you have some young kids and you're trying to, or, most people with kids are trying to put some money away for college, but you've got their college covered just with the appreciation that you made on the first rental.
So this was the house we bought in Wisconsin in 2013. It was a foreclosure, but it was a real cosmetic fixer. So nothing major. We maybe, I painted every square inch myself. So a lot of sweat equity. And we had to put appliances in, but maybe $5,000 to $10,000 of our own money. And then it's just been great appreciation wise. I think the house just down the street, similar, just sold for $350,000. So the plan is, because I did think about college too. I'm like, gosh, should I start putting money separately for that? But I have no idea what my kids are going to do, if they're going to get 2 years of college credit while they're still in high school, if they're going to go to an Ivy League school. It's really hard to plan. And I know some programs are just specific to states, and I don't know if they're going to want to go out of state. So my plan, going back to that house in Wisconsin, is to just do a cash out refinance when we get to that point. So I'm just going to pull that equity out, and then there's my kids' college tuition.
That's awesome.
Just kind of
do it that way. Did you plan that, or is that just you got lucky with the market?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. Looking back, it's a lot easier to connect the dots, but I think I've always just been passionate about the power of real estate, and read books or heard, that's like the number one way people build wealth still in America is through real estate investing. And so I just thought if we could get ourselves in a great position, we're going to be able to help our kids so much more too than if we were just saving for their college, but not investing for ourselves.
Right. Yeah. That's really, really awesome. I mean, that's incredible. So how much appreciation have you made on that property?
Well, so ballpark. So we bought that house for $205,000. We just been making the normal payments. So I think it's down. So the debt pay down too is great. So I think the mortgage on that one's at $175, and like I said, it's worth $350. So, that'll be a nice chunk of well over $100,000. I think that we'll be able to pull up.
Tell me about your Airbnb. You mentioned that you have one of your properties is an Airbnb. Now, you rent it out as an Airbnb over the summer, but in the winter, it's hard to get people to rent it over the winter. So you put a short-term tenant in there?
So for this one, I debated, because actually, if your listeners have heard of Sandpoint, Idaho, there's a beautiful ski mountain there too. So I was like, gosh, should I keep it as a short-term rental through the winter? But then, I live about 50 minutes away from there, and with the snow plowing situation, I could have made it work, but I just, there's so many people that are either building houses or just are moving to the area and just need a place to stay for 3 to 6 months. I just wanted the ease and peace of mind to know somebody's in there and the pipe isn't going to burst without me knowing, if it was sporadic in the winter for short term. But I just bought that one in July. So it'll be really interesting to see how it does with a full year with it. But already before even the new year, July and August are almost completely booked. So this is an awesome.
Wow.
I recommend to anybody, if you live in a somewhat tourist area, that one should cash flow, just ballpark, and being very conservative. I think over the whole year, $1,200 to $1,500 a month of cash flow when you spread it across. So I'm excited about that one.
And so, So last summer was your first summer doing that. Was that a lot of work to do the turnovers between guests?
To get it first set up, just to get it furnished and be like, oh gosh, I need a toaster, or, just to think of all the little things as if you were living there yourself. Definitely took some time and effort. It wasn't, just turnkey ready to go. But after that point, I was shocked at how little time it took me to just respond to emails. I found an amazing cleaning crew. I think that's the other key to making it really easy and not very time consuming. So, gosh, I bet I did not spend more than an hour a week. That's probably a lot, actually, on that. And, a lot of the property management companies in my area charge 35% or more for those. And I just think if people wanted to do it on their own as like a little side hustle, it's really not that hard.
Right. Yeah. Now, how about for all of your rentals, for all 4 properties, how much time do you think you spend in a month with management?
Maybe an hour or 2 a month. Seriously. So I only have 4 right now, so it's not that much. But once you get great tenants in your houses, like I said, I have teachers and nurses and just quality tenants. That's the key right there. And I know I've heard lots of people say that you just got to do great at your tenant screening, get solid employed people in there that are just good people. And it really reduces how much time you're spending on them. I've never gotten a call in the middle of the night because the toilet was leaking or all the reasons people say they don't want to get into investing. Right. So,
tell us about like what you're looking for, like when you kind of set up your criteria of, all right, this is the kind of my dream tenant. Like what kind of criteria are you looking for in a good tenant?
Dream tenant has solid jobs, great employment history. That's always my first phone call is to their employer, to make sure that doesn't look like they're going to be, let go anytime soon, or, you never know for sure, but, solid jobs, 100%. And then, I use Cozy, and I don't always make people do. One of my best tenants ever had horrible credit. He went through a divorce, and he was getting back on his feet, had a great job, high income. That's the other thing. I want them to have at least, 4 times the monthly income of what my rent is. So I don't put too much stock into credit scores. I go more on the person. I do a background check on everybody too. And then that's kind of like the minimum standards.
And so you're using Cozy to basically to advertise the property and then to collect rent?
Yes. Okay. And to do the screening.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Cozy is so simple. So like the way it works is that the tenant just logs in there and they electronically send you the rent. So you're not having to chase tenants down every month to get paid, right?
Yeah. And it's all free. It just takes, I think, 7 business days for it to actually deposit in my account. So I don't know if there's a way to pay to get it done faster. I haven't really looked into it, but that's the only negative, and it's totally fine for me. So
yeah, that is awesome. Now tell me about your other property. So I guess this is your latest property, the new construction house?
Yes. Well, I bought that right around the same time as the Sandpoint Airbnb. But that one was my first, like, really traditional 20% down. It was I don't know if it was the beginning of the second phase of this development or the end of the first phase, but it was one of the first houses in a new construction development. And our area is just kind of booming right now. And it was a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house. And I just thought, wow, and I knew my mortgage on that one would be about $1,215 with 20% down. And I knew I could get $1,800 a month for rent on that. And so my cash on cash return isn't as much as it was on my other ones, but just the peace of mind and the low possibility of having any CapEx expenses. It just made a lot of sense. Plus, I'm a real estate agent. So I'm another huge Tim Shiner fan in that, buy with me, break your lease for free, right? So these people in the new construction house are actually looking to build themselves. So I will be their agent. And then, so it's a good lead source for my real estate agent.
Yeah, I love Tim's, what is it? Buy with me and you can get out of your lease for free.
Break your lease for free.
Yeah. So tell me how that works. Yep. So you sign a lease with them, but you tell them if they find a new house that they want to buy, as long as they use you as their agent, then it doesn't matter if they're only there for 3 months. As long as you're their buyer agent, then you let them out of the lease.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
So, because even if they move out in the middle of winter, which it is harder to get good long-term renters in the winter in my area, that commission will pay for several months, right, of a vacancy.
Right.
So to me, it's totally worth it. That's
awesome. And so how do you, when you have a new tenant, how do you kind of present that to them?
I just tell them.
Okay.
I just say, because normally when I post a thing for rent, then, I'll get a phone call and I'll just get to know them and see if they're moving to the area. Are they looking just to rent or perhaps buy? And I'll let them know I'm a real estate agent. And then I'll just verbally tell them. So if you happen to want to rent one of my houses, we'll typically do a 6 or 12 month lease. But if you find something you love and you want to buy it and use me as your agent, I'll let you out of the lease at any point. So.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, I think
and that is actually in the lease too for me when they do sign it.
Yeah. I think Tim, I think his wife gets a lot of her business off of his rentals. I mean, that is, I think, just a great way. If you're a realtor and you also own rentals, you should definitely be doing that with your tenants. That's
Yes, there's a few power couples in our area too, that one is a property manager and one is an agent, husband and wife team. And man, they do amazing with that situation. So that's great.
So with the new construction, was it really easy to rent out? I mean, I just imagine a brand new house, what tenant wouldn't want to rent that?
Yeah, both my business partner Nick did the same thing. So we had two brand new, the very similar houses. Neither one of us, we both had them filled before they were even completed.
Like you were showing the property as it was being built?
Yes. Well, I only had to show it once or twice, and it was near completion. But yeah,
that's
it was
great.
I already had tenants ready to go to sign the lease as soon as I officially closed and owned the property.
That's awesome. Well, if anybody is looking to invest in the North Idaho area and they want to reach out to you, what's the best way for someone to contact you?
Sure. So we have a website. It's called northidahorei.com. And you can read more about myself and my team. We run a monthly real estate investor meeting. It's just a networking meeting. We have a guest speaker typically, and we're really there just to help and network. And if you happen to need an agent, we're happy to help. We're not pitching or selling anything. Nick started that a couple of years before I met him, and it's brilliant. And so you can check us out on our website. My phone number and email's on there.
If you want to look up that website, I've got a link to it on my website. You can find it at rentalincomepodcast.com/episode 193. If Joe's story motivated you and you're ready to take action and ready to pick up a rental property, the very first thing that you should do is get pre-qualified for a mortgage. The lender that I personally recommend is Chaley Ridge from Ridge Lending Group. She only works with investors, and she has access to a lot of different programs that most lenders don't have access to. You can find out more and get pre-qualified for free when you mention Rental Income Podcast. Just go to ridgelendinggroup.com. That's RIDGE lendinggroup.com. NMLS 42056. If you're like me, there's lots of great business and real estate books that you want to read, but it's just hard to find the time to actually sit down and read the books. Well, I found an app that I highly recommend that solves this problem once and for all. It's called Blinkist. They have all your favorites on there, from people like Gary Vaynerchuk, Tim Ferriss, Seth Godin. And what Blinkist does is it takes the key takeaways and everything you need to know from a book, and it puts it into a really quick and easy to consume format. So you can listen to a book in just 15 minutes. I mean, imagine that. Instead of taking hours and hours and hours to read a book, in 15 minutes, you can walk away with all of the key takeaways. If you prefer to read, they have a summary on there, so you can read the summary of the book. They literally have thousands of nonfiction books on this app. Whether you're looking for self-help, business, health, history, they have it on there. You can find it on Blinkist, and they're adding new books all the time. I absolutely love Blinkist. When I'm driving around town, I'll open the app and listen to a book, and it's just incredible. I've listened to a couple of different books, and to be quite honest, I've become addicted to Blinkist this week. But two of the books that I've checked out are the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I've been meaning to read this book for years, but I just never got around to it. And in 15 minutes, I walked away with everything that you really need to know from the book. The other one that I checked out was The Snowball. It's a book about Warren Buffett and how he became one of the richest men in the world. Another really great book that's huge that I just never would have taken the time to read that book. Right now, Blinkist has a special offer just for our listeners. If you go to Blinkist.com/rental-income, you can start a 7-day free trial. That's Blinkist, spelled Blinkist, Blinkist.com/rental-income to start your 7-day free trial. Blinkist.com/rental-income. Definitely check it out. I mean, how can you go wrong with a 7-day free trial? It's really incredible, but I got to warn you, you probably will get addicted to this app, but I think that's a good thing. Well, thank you so much for listening to the show. I really appreciate it. We'll be back with a new episode next Tuesday. My name is Dan Lane, and this has been the Rental Income Podcast.